And now bringing you that hard hitting fight analysis, submitting you into paralysis. Josh Thompson head kicking leg to dome, and Big John McCarthy saying let's get it on.
Well, hello and welcome to the Weighing In Podcast. We didn't have much for fights this weekend, but we got all kinds of stuff to talk about, especially the sparkly blue hat with the black sparkles on it that Josh is wearing. I'm gonna wear baby blue.
Yeah. It matches my Iron Army Academy.
That's a good. You know what?
Frankie
That's
Edgar's.
Frankie Edgar's. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You went there. I saw that you went and taught class for him. I think that is freaking very cool. You guys started off a long time ago as friends, training together and doing stuff for each other as fighters. And look at that. You're both old men together now.
Yes, we are. You know, it's funny, John. Let me just show this real quick to you, to all you guys. Look, I've known Frankie for a long time. He came into AK one day, and he was paying him and his buddy Chris Ligori were paying like, I don't know, it was like $200 a night to stay at a hotel for like 10 days. And I was like, damn, you know, in a fighter's salary, it was like he'd just beaten Tyson Griffin. He'd come right after the Tyson fight, and
the knee bar battle.
Yeah, and then remember there was a redheaded guy that he fought. I think his name was Bo something that he fought. He said he was really strong. He's like, yeah, he's like a ginger, super strong.
Dude, ginger. We've talked about ginger.
Yeah, we've talked about ginger.
You know what they are, man.
Yeah, they're super. Yeah. They're freaky strong.
Freaky strong.
But Frankie, but Frankie and I, we had talked. Like, this is our picture from this week. So we took this little picture here. This was at his Iron Army Academy.
Yeah, there you go. That's Chris right there.
Yeah, it's Chris Ligori right
very
there.
Very good, yeah.
So, so we had some great photos with, from way back in the day. Let me see if I can find
way.
Yeah, it was literally like way back in the day. It's hilarious, John. Let me see here. Like, but what was funny about it is that there's so much history. Let me see here. This one. Here we go. John, look at that. Look at that hair.
Oh my God! Look at that! You with the skunk stripe, man.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
That was in, I think, 2008.
Mayhem Miller copied you too.
Yeah, he
did. He copied you, dude.
There was that, and then there was this one. This was shortly after when Frankie came back the second time.
Oh, there you go.
Look how young we are, baby faces.
Dude, you guys are.
And then this was literally like we were all at an event together, and but then you got Tyson Griffin, who he fought. That's Tyson Griffin way over there
right
on the
there,
side.
Yeah.
My buddy Travis Johnson, kickboxer, I was telling you was really good. Chris Ligori, and then my little brother in the middle. But it was just funny, man.
That's awesome.
They came out a couple times, stayed with me. So like halfway through their first day, you know,
they heard that Baroni lived with you and stuff. They're like, oh no, we're not.
Oh no, Baroni wasn't with me at the time. This was pre-Baroni, and but no, he just like yeah, man. He's like, yeah, we're paying this, and they had to, they were basically getting a rental car to go back and forth. I said, hey, why don't you guys just stay with me? You guys don't have to pay me anything. Just, just buy your own food. I go, I'm not trying to support everybody. So that happened. And sure enough, man, like literally became good friends. And we were just basically he every time he came to San Jose to train, he'd stay with me. And yeah, it was a good relationship. So, I mean, the least I could do, knowing that, I've owned gyms, you've owned gyms, having somebody that can come in and bring a little help to the gym and help, pump it up. They haven't even opened it yet, a full year yet. I think it's been like 7 months, something like that, for the Iron Army Academy here in Toms River, New Jersey.
That's cool.
So I came through, taught the kids class, no gi class, and then I taught the adult no gi class, and we had a good time, man. I did some autograph signing and some picture taking afterwards, shaking hands, kissing babies. It was just fun. It was fun to be there, help them out, and I know all the pains that they've been through and opening gyms and just getting your member counts and all. It's a lot. So it's a lot. So yeah, man. And I'm it sounds like there's more coming up too with some other fighters that I know that are down in like Costa Mesa area. So I'll be doing some stuff down there at some of their locations as well. So
owning a gym is not what everyone thinks. Oh, because you own a gym, you're rich. No, sorry.
No,
it's horrible.
You're definitely not rich. No,
You're
there was months where it cost
money
me,
into it.
In the beginning, it cost me that first year. It cost me, I'd say it cost me close to $70,000. That's after I opened.
Oh yeah,
that's after I put $100,000 into open.
Oh yeah.
So $100,000 that cost me 70. But then over the 10-year period, I basically made my money back, and I was still in the plus. So I got into the plus, but I never really raised my prices. So I kept my prices where it was, which is a huge mistake. I know that you want to be friends with everyone, like they're your longtime members, but you got to raise it like $10 after 10 years. You got to raise it at least $10, at least $10. So, but yeah, but anyways, for those of you guys wondering about the bedazzled, this
bedazzled hat sparkles.
This is actually my
Colin.
daughter's
Now
hat.
you're no longer the punk. You're now Josh Sparkles Thompson.
I wore the white one for the last 2 episodes, and then my daughter's like, "How come you don't wear mine?" And I had to explain to her that it's bedazzled, and she's like, "What is that?" Like I don't. She's like, "Walk." That means you won't wear mine because
bedazzled.
That's not fair. You wear his, and I was like, "Okay." So I told her I'd wear it. So just to let her. And plus, it matches Frankie's shirt, the light baby blue.
It's close.
So it's close. It is.
That's
close.
good.
It's a little off, but it's popping a little bit. Hey, so let's go ahead and talk some news. Let's get into this conversation here.
Let's
Tito
go.
George is back, right? You're back in Illinois now, correct?
Yes, sir. I am back in the motherland.
Yeah, you were driving through, having some car problems. You were in Amarillo, Texas.
I stopped the first night in Phoenix, then Amarillo, and then a small town in Missouri.
Amarillo,
Armadillo, Texas.
Armadillo, Texas. That's where I was.
I made it. Took a couple days, but I'm here, safe. What's up, guys?
I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to go on a road trip. Just because you guys are going on road trips, you're up in New Jersey. Look at George is driving across all the way to Illinois. That's it. I'm taking off.
I can't wait to get home.
You got a new truck to do it.
Got a new truck to do it too. That's it.
Yes. You got rid of the TRX. You lost a little bit of your manhood. You got rid of the
a little bit. You know what? The balls shrunk down.
No. I feel like when you go to a diesel, it swells your balls a little bit.
Okay, I like it.
It makes them a little bit bigger.
Well, just towing power.
Talking about these TRXs and the Raptors, and I think they're great trucks. I think
they're cool because when you step on it, the best part of that truck was it's sitting in the parking lot and you got the automatic start out. And you hit that button and it goes, and it goes, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
You know what pisses
that
me
is
off
so cool
about my Toyota Sequoia? My TRD Pro. No, it does make a sound. It does
Oh, really?
It does that. But the problem is there's no auto start.
Really? You can't do that.
I'm like, how do you have a 2025 vehicle and no auto start?
Thank you.
That's some bullshit.
That's bullshit right there.
Fucking, especially when it's cold in Texas.
I'm complaining.
I'm a total sissy when it comes to that type of shit. Because my daughter, she don't want to get in the car when it's cold, so I got to go out there early.
I go to the car. I go to the same car guy, JC Denny. He's awesome, dude, man. You know what? He's always taking care of me. And I go and I called him. Actually, I text him, say, "Hey, man, do you have any this kind of vehicle, this color?" Right? And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I got 2." Right? And he goes, "One's a big horn, which is the lower bass, and then the Laramie is the higher bass." I said, "Cool, I'll be down." Go down. I look. Here I am. I got a big horn. It's got a camera in the front. All this stuff. The Laramie doesn't have the camera in the front. I'm going, I thought the Laramie was the higher price. What the hell is it? I look at the sticker price. Laramie's way higher. It's like, why does this have stuff that this doesn't?
Yeah.
Didn't make sense. But
yeah. I mean, look, I bought that Toyota, the TRD Pro, just so I don't have to buy another vehicle until my kid graduates. Or until he's going to when he turns 16, I'll just give it to him. So I'll have it for about 6 years.
Well, see, that's the way I always said that the TRX was going to be my last one. But then I got my farm truck after it. So that was a lie in the beginning. And my farm truck it's a Dodge Ram. It's the dually, right? 3,500. And that thing, the guy who I bought it from had done some engine work. It runs like a fucking champ. It is a monster, right? But I'm kind of like, it was rough to ride in. This one, my God, this is like, whoa.
Well, I had a Laramie Dodge diesel truck. The Cummins diesel.
I know, and being one person that told you, Josh, don't sell that.
Yeah, the wife won that battle.
And you did what?
The wife won that battle. Now I know you have folded to Miss McCarthy several times.
What do you mean folded?
Folded.
What do you mean folded? Imploded.
Imploded.
Let's be honest.
When it comes to things like this, I'm like, ugh. So yeah,
It's all right. Miss McCarthy's the one that let me do this.
Well,
so.
you have to remember though, when I got that truck, I got it in 2010. It had 19,000 miles on it, and I got it, and it was 1 year used. It was when the market crashed. The guy had basically traded it back in after having it for 1 year. It was a 2009, and the market crashed. Not stock market, but the housing market. So he had to turn it in. So I got that car for 31,000. I sold it for 30,000.
I will tell you, that's the one thing I will say. I actually did the math. I was sitting in the car dealership, and I go, you know what? Because I know what I bought my TRX for, and then I know what they're going to give me as a thing. I said, let me find out. I've had it for basically 5 years, and it's really, we're talking $5,000 difference between what I paid for it and what it's now worth.
Yeah,
which is that's amazing.
That's awesome.
So I do that. I go, it cost me $2 a day to own that vehicle. As far as it's like I rented it for $2 a day. Yeah. Hello. I think if I could just do that all the time, that'd be great.
Yeah. It never works out that way though.
No, it doesn't work.
Unfortunately, especially with American cars. I mean, the only reason why I got rid of my Dodge Diesels is because I bought the Denali, and then 7,000 miles later, the fucking Denali engine and the tranny went out.
Shut it.
And then that was during COVID.
And so they had a whole thing. They had a whole thing with that. They recalled all of those 6.2 liter Denalis. You just got stuck in the middle.
I got stuck. So then, whatever. They took it back. They gave me back my money. They actually gave me more than I actually paid for it, which is kind of nice in the lemon law. But I don't know if people know this. To lemon law a vehicle in other states outside of California is a fucking disaster. California has one of the easiest lemon law solutions. As soon as you say it's had like engine problems or tranny problems or any type of major issue within that factory warranty, you can lemon law it, no problem. And the dealerships or the whatever, like Dodge or whatever, they'll take it back. They pretty much they're forced to kind of take it back. I tried doing that shit with my Jeep in Texas. They were like, nah. Just not even picking up my calls. I almost used my address back in California. I should have drove it to California.
Yeah, you should have.
Lemon law it there.
Well, you should have. You got property there.
Yeah, I know.
Do it.
So, all right, well, hey, let's go ahead and talk about some fight action. Let's
Actual
talk about some fight news
stuff.
And talk about all the drama that's going on. The White House fights.
Dude, we're going to the White House. I got to talk about that.
You got Jake Paul being ranked in the WB something or whatever
WBC,
it is.
WBA.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, anyways, let's go ahead. What do you got for us there, Keto?
Well, if you guys already mentioned it for a second, but Donald Trump has announced that potentially the UFC could be pulling up to Washington, D.C. at the Oval Office, White House. What do you guys think? Like, what does this mean for the sport? What does this mean for the city? Like, what does this mean in general?
I mean, when they say it's going to, when he said Noche is going to be a one-time deal at the Sphere, I was like, yeah, probably not. It'll probably happen again. This will probably be a one-time deal. There's no way some other fucking president's going to pick this up and be like, yeah, let's have a fight.
Let's have a fight on the White House lawn.
I got to be honest, man. If you have an opportunity to fight on that card and you got an opportunity, I'd be all in. It's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. You could say you were part of it. You were part of history. The fact that if they can get this done, how could you not be excited for it? All the media people, if they start talking shit, they start doing this. This is huge, huge. I said, it's huge when you had a sitting president coming to live UFC events. Huge. This trumps, no pun intended.
Yes,
it
trumps
that. It trumps it. It's a big deal, and they're saying that it can hold anywhere between 32,000 people. If it can hold 32,000 people, that's a shit ton of people. I don't know if that's true. They said anywhere between 25 to 30,000 people, 32,000 is how many it can hold. Now, obviously, I think they'll make it smaller. Remember, did you ever work any fights at the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be 1,000 people small, but I'm simply saying I think it's going to end up being all tickets that are given to people that are VIPs, and I think there'll be very limited tickets for fans.
Who'd you fight there? You fought
I fought Adam Lynn and I fought
one more
Bash Bowman.
Bash Bowman. That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, both those guys.
Yeah. The whole White House thing. You talk about let's come full circle here. Okay, because I'm the old guy, and I've been there since the very beginning of this fucking thing. But with all the things that the government has done to stop the UFC at times, and all the problems that we had, and all these things that have occurred, and it was Donald Trump when they first when Zuffa first bought it, they went and had their shows at his Taj Mahal casino at the Marquettas Arena. That was UFC 30 and 31. And Trump was at those. And then for him to now, be in a position that he's looking and saying, hey, this is the 250, year anniversary of the country, and we're going to have a fight at the White House. And I'm like, holy shit. That is absolutely full circle. It is the coolest thing if you're part of this sport that you could actually think about. There was only one other thing. There was one thing that someone had brought up to me that I said, yeah, I'm all in. I'll do that. And it was, they were going to have a fight in Rome, Italy, in the Colosseum.
Yeah. I heard
and I was like, dude, for free. I don't give a shit. That's a bucket list. Yeah. Well, the White House is a bucket list too. That's kind of cool. I don't think it's quite as cool as the Colosseum in Rome. I'm being honest. It's not quite as cool.
It's way better.
Really?
Way better.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
No, the Coliseum in Rome is so cool.
John, I'm fucking American. What the fuck do you
I
mean?
don't
Why
care.
is it better?
It's the whole fucking
4th of July yesterday, and you're over here spouting this nonsense off. Get the
fuck out of here.
I'm fucking American. I want it to be at the White House.
I think it's cool at the White House. I think it's cool. Okay, here's let's go a little bit further then. Now, I saw that Conor McGregor has put in his bid to be part of that show. Now he's already been to the White House. He went and he visited Trump there and stuff. They put him up on the podium and stuff. So you think he's going to be part of it?
Well, John Jones came out and said he wants to be part of it too. He's getting back into
I told you he's coming back.
But John, I mean, we're gonna have to up security in the library.
Oh my God! Well, there'll be 2 times. Never mind.
We're gonna have to up you're gonna have to up the security for the library.
Yeah, you might.
I mean, it's one of those situations where. Let me ask you this. It's funny because we're talking about Conor McGregor. We're talking about John Jones. They're not champions right now.
No.
You have to have a champion headline that card.
Oh, have to.
Yeah, okay, so
how are you putting somebody else?
Where are you putting those guys?
Exactly. Good point.
And I mean, neither one's champion. Neither one, and I think it'd be very unique. And the other thing is, everything that John has just done.
And you can't put Tom Aspinall against John Jones at the White House.
No.
Can't do it. What happens if the Englishman wins? That's like giving your country back.
Oh, man.
It's almost like losing the Revolutionary War.
That would be horrible. That would be horrible. Yeah. I even wonder if Dana White even wants to open that door for John Jones.
Nah, I don't think so. Not in that situation.
No,
I really don't. It's like you want to come back, no problem. You can come back, and we'll figure out when and where.
Yeah, but it will not be the White House.
It won't be the White House.
Yeah, and I don't know about the Conor situation. Do you want to open it for that one as well?
Okay, so think about this, Josh.
Conor's still a big draw. John was never a huge draw.
He is a big draw. When's the last time he fought? It was over 4 years ago.
Yeah. And now let me ask you this. Here's another one. Michael Chandler.
No, no way.
Look,
if I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it right, and Connor's gonna be part of it, I'm gonna be talking to Dustin Poirier, saying, Dustin, you can retire after New Orleans, but just keep yourself kind of in shape, and you'll come out of retirement for number 4 against Conor McGregor. Come on,
really?
Yeah,
really?
I would rather see Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor than I would Nate Diaz.
I'd rather see the fight, yes, but I've already seen it, so I don't know if I've seen it 3 times, and I've seen him win the last 2 times, and he's won handily. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like I don't know. And I love Dustin, man. I really do. I'd like to see him beat the brakes off of him again, but it's just one of those fights where I think. You match them up. You got to make it like a fun fight. I would probably even say, no, I'd just do the Nate Diaz fight.
Nah.
No?
I would rather see Dustin.
What about him in a Justin Gaethje fight? Like, let's see a
Connor,
fight we have.
Connor
Yeah,
and
let's see a
Justin.
fight we haven't seen.
No, that would be good.
Let's
That would
see
be
a fight we
great.
haven't seen.
I would love to see. I'd love to see Connor and Justin.
Make him a co-main event.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a co-main event. It couldn't be a main. You'd have to have a champions.
Make it the main of the prelims.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, jeez.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
That's. I guess my next question is like, where do you put him on the card?
Well, it would have to at least be a co-main.
Absolutely, yeah. You couldn't. Yeah, you'd have to put him as the co-main. I think as the main event, whoever your champions are at that time, you have to revisit it because within this year and a half time, it's
all going to change.
The other thing too is I could see them doing it right around Mexican Independence Day, only because that's September, or you could do it in Labor Day weekend.
Have you lost your mind?
The reason why I'm saying that is because it's closer to the election. That's why. You need it to be closer to the midterm elections, John. Let's not be stupid. Like
you're thinking too politically for me.
No, but I'm thinking like if you were the president and you wanted to have an event there, you want to make sure that it's around that time. The talk is all positive. The talk is a huge deal. Like that, it takes all the other talk off of whatever is going wrong in the country, if there is anything going wrong at the time. It's just something big. I don't think you could do it on the 4th of July.
No, I don't think you can do it on the 4th of July, but you could do it near it.
Or you can do Memorial Day. You can do 4th of July.
No, because it's for the it's for the 250th birthday of the country. That's the whole point of it.
Gotcha.
So it's got to be around the 4th of July.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You're at 249 right now.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Do you guys think Connor gets 3 rounds or 5 rounds if he fights?
He would get a 5 round.
They wouldn't want to short it. Like
they wouldn't. They wouldn't want it to be short in any fashion. So it would definitely be a 5 round fight. Yeah.
There's so much to talk about in terms of who would be the main event. There's no American outside of Kayla Harrison. There's no Americans as the champions right now.
This is true.
So
makes it rough.
Yeah, like who are you gonna have? You're gonna have.
But that can change. You got a year.
Are you going to have a South African? Are you going to have...
no, you're not going to have a South African.
Khamzat Chimaev? Like, who are you going to have? Islam? Like, who are you going to have?
That's true.
There's no Americans as champions except for Kayla Harrison. So
there's a lot of Australians.
And she's got a big fight coming up. So if she has that fight, there's a lot of Australians. Yeah, you have the Aussies too you could do. But I don't know. But look, this is definitely something to help create buzz.
Actually, when you think about it, the Kayla Harrison is not a bad...
No.
Play. You got a 2-time Olympic gold medalist for the USA, who is now a UFC champion fighting, but she's going to be fighting, Amanda Nunes before that.
But yeah, I know that's
Go
before.
ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just too far in advance.
Too far away.
Too far away.
It's interesting. Yeah, I love the whole talk. I love how quick people jumped on it. I thought that was the great. Then the other part I saw was once Connor said he wanted to fight it, then Paulie Malignaggi comes out of retirement from boxing and challenges him to a winner take all. I'm like, in BKFC, that's your boss.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what he's
doing. He's still mad about the training footage.
It should be. Yeah, you don't show video footage of training.
You do when someone fucking opens their mouth like he did.
Okay.
Okay. There's 2 sides to every story.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and break this down though. Big deal, little deal, no deal.
No, that's a big deal.
Big deal.
And you have a major, sporting event on the White House grounds. You know what? Huge. And especially for the sport that is the youngest sport there is basically still out there, and one that had so much bad news attached to it early on, and had, people in the government, political people trying to ban it. Yeah, it's a huge thing and it's great. And it's, you look and you go, hey, way to go, President Trump giving back to Dana White, man. This Dana's going, yeah, we'll do one. I got it. Yep, we'll do one.
Absolutely. So
huge.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a huge deal. I think it's, like I said, I talked about how historic it was for Donald Trump to be coming to live events. Huge.
But Josh, think about this. the UFC right now is in negotiations with all these different
Mhm.
networks and broadcast systems to where they're going to put their product. Now because President Trump has come out, which I'm sure he kind of came out with it partially based upon Dana going, "Do me a favor."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so now you have those people. Do you think that they want to be part of that type of event? Yeah, they want to be part of that. So it's just everything. So when you look how it works out and everything, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
smooth, very smooth.
It'll be a star-studded event. You'll have Zuckerberg there, Jeff Bezos. You'll have Leonardo DiCaprio. You'll have all the stars there, as well as a handful of lucky people that are fans, real fans that get to show up and attend.
Yeah.
You'll get a handful, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That it would be nice
Always.
if the fans would really be able to have an opportunity to attend, but it'll mainly be star-studded. That's the only negative side I think I see of this whole situation.
They're gonna have to vet everybody.
Yeah.
Can you
It really
imagine
depends
that?
on how much you want to go.
No
Figure it out.
last minute ticket buys.
No.
Well, we know Theo Vaughn will be there for the prelims. So
Theo Vaughn, there you go.
Theo's a dog, man. He'll be there.
Joey Diaz will be sitting right behind Rogan with just a couple mushrooms in his hand.
Joey Diaz, I heard he announced he's moving to Austin.
I believe he's going
That
to be.
was something I thought would never happen.
Well, his daughter is at the point she's graduating,
Uh,
and he wanted to stick around for that. And so once she's going to go off to college, you look and you go, okay, I can see it.
Yeah.
Joey kind of went into exile for a little bit. Kind of got off of the, being out there and traveling and doing all of the shows and everything, and now he's kind of edging himself back towards it. Dude, he's so good.
mm-hmm.
If you ever get to see him live, he is so fucking funny. He has got more stories and shit. He's just a phenomenal person.
Yeah.
We got to get him on the podcast here.
He's got a big heart.
Oh yeah,
Big heart.
it's just funny as hell.
What else you got for us, Keto?
all right. Well, you guys briefly touched on it, but John Jones has re-entered the USADA testing pool.
See, you heard the White House thing, and this is boom.
But also, I saw a little thing that intrigued me at least. Here's a quote from Tom Aspinall via the Ariel Helwani show. He said,
Yeah.
"You are an absolute piece of shit, and you should never be allowed to fight if you've taken PEDs. It's like taking a gun to a knife fight." John Jones responded on Instagram with, you silly gooses know I never took steroids. The evidence is all there, hence why I was able to fight again, and the rules have been changed for everyone across all sports. Call me the game changer. What do you guys think about this?
I mean,
My kids lie to me too. I'm just telling you straight out. That's sorry.
John,
Sorry, he's been caught.
Let's just say this.
Hold it. No, he's been caught multiple times. Okay, they want to talk about he wants to get into this whole picogram thing and stuff. As simple as it gets, the reason that John Jones got caught was because he took them, and I can't say when. I'm not going to say how many. I don't know. He knows. Okay, but when your body takes in something, and especially if water soluble, there's different types, and there's fat solubles. And when you take steroids, depending upon what you're taking, and I don't know what he's taking, I don't care. I don't know if he's microdosing or how he's taking it, but your body is going to store some of it. And especially when you are a fighter who is losing weight, you're making a weight cut to be at a certain weight, and then they make you pee. If you've taken something, it's coming out. A lot of it will, it doesn't mean it has, but it comes out. And that's what happened to him. I'm not saying that even on that time that he got caught for those picograms, he had taken something, but he had definitely taken something before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's just the way it is. You can sit there and say, I didn't. Doesn't mean that anyone's going to believe you. Is he a game changer? He was a game changer as far as the way he fucking went about fighting in a lot of ways. Game changer as far as PEDs? No, he's one of many that have done it.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Like at some point in your career, whether it was pre-USADA, during USADA, whatever it was, you took PEDs. it doesn't come out of your system unless whether it was inside supplements or whatever it was, but at some point in your career you took it. That's cheating.
Well, it's funny. John, I don't think ever fucking, there was guys, Josh Barnett got caught, early in his career when he beat Randy Couture.
Yeah.
For the title, and then he got popped for PEDs, and he admitted it, and then moved on from it. But then he got popped by USADA later on, and it was stuff that he was taking from a supplement, because what USADA used to do is they would take the supplement that you were using, and they would have that, and they would actually test that, but then they would go and buy it at a store and test that same product to see if it had the same things. And it did on his case. It did, and so, I look at him as he got popped a second time, and it's like, it wasn't his fault because it was supplements. You didn't see Josh Barnett.
So the same thing happened to Yoel Romero, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I had read that they had taken like 200 samples from other locations.
Yeah.
And they had bought like up to 200 samples.
Well, what they do is they'll buy a couple, and they'll test it. And if it pops, any of those pop, then they go back and they buy more and test more. And it's like when a majority of those are coming up with it, it's like, hey, the company is throwing this in there. Now, why is the company throwing it in there?
Because
it works.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they want results. They want you to see results, so you keep buying their product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I understand that.
Yoel was awarded $27 million.
Didn't get a
in
penny
his
of
lawsuit.
It. They filed bankruptcy and didn't get a penny of it.
Yeah, that was the company.
Yeah. I look at some point in John Jones's career, he took steroids.
Yeah. How many times have you and I talked about, PED abuse and things like that? And you would talk about someone and I'd go, hey, don't say that about that person unless you can absolutely say for no doubt, yes, he did, and, it's because, we can sit there and question and wonder, but if you don't have proof because they never tested dirty, don't say that they're on PEDs, John's
funny?
tested dirty.
Yeah. The thing is though, John, when you see, I think everyone knows this. They talk about like the eye test, the smell test, all that shit, right?
Sure.
Like you can walk the beaches at Manhattan Beach or Redondo Beach or Huntington Beach, and you can see.
Oh, you can pick them out.
Who's on steroids?
Sure. There's a look. There's a certain thing that occurs with the body. There's a puffiness, to the face, and just different things that occur that you look and you go,
The redness of the skin when it gets a little bit, like when it starts to get a little,
just a little bit heated, a little bit work to it, man. It turns just bright red, pink.
Yeah. Yeah, and it starts like turning pinkish. It's bright,
and then
red,
then it goes gray.
Then it goes white or gray, right?
Gray.
You can see it, you can see it. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And so when you say, oh yeah, he's never tested positive, I'm like, yeah, but I trained with that dude. His skin color changed quite a bit.
Well, see, but that's different. You can look and go, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at some point, I guess the other thing too for me with John is, he tested positive for the picograms. And shortly after all of that happened, his performances started to be lackluster.
Hold on, Josh, you're sitting there talking about that, the picograms. That happened in California.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in Vegas at UFC 200? Who was DC supposed to fight? He wasn't supposed to fight Anderson Silva. He was supposed to fight who?
DC.
He was supposed to fight John Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And why did John Jones not fight that night? Because DC fought that night. Why didn't John? Why? I'm fucking confused. Why?
You tell me.
And this had nothing to do with picograms.
Well, what was it for then?
Testing. So don't sit there and give me the whole thing about picogram stuff. You were the fucking main event of UFC 200. You never were there. There's a reason why. So sorry.
Shitty. I like all things. I know, like people come. I read the comments a little bit here and there, and I say people say like, oh, I came here for more John Jones bashing, this and that, right? Like we're not trying to bash him. You're just using what has been reported by whether it's MMA Junkie, whether it's SureDog, whether it's BJPen.com, whatever it is. You know, you just use the information that you're given and you have a conversation about it. Like John has always had problems within his career, whether it's, you know, with picograms, whether it's with cocaine, whether it's with, you know, whatever just
Alcohol
happened, alcohol, whatever it is, right? You know, I mean, it is what it is. Like what he does outside of the cage really is none of our business, but you are not allowed to take steroids. And testing positive for picograms, testing positive for any type of substance whatsoever is against the rules. And so you brought that upon yourself. And no one's here to, I'm not here to judge you. Like that's what I want to make sure that we're clear on. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just simply saying like those are the facts.
You can sit there and say, I'm not here to judge you, but when you come out saying that I've, you know, never did and I've been proven innocent, no, you haven't. Okay. They just basically said that the amount that was in your system wasn't going to do a whole lot for your performance, but it also took away your win against DC the second time.
Yeah. What else you got for us there, Keto George?
All right, from one controversy on to another. During the UFC 317 weigh-ins, Ilya Topuria, when he weighed in, when he weighed in, he at first was announced at 155 and a half. Mm-hmm. When it seems to be, what seems to have happened is when the commission realized he can't weigh in that half a pound more, it was automatically corrected to nope. It says 155, not 155 and a half, which sparked a lot of controversy online of people thinking that, you know, the whole UFC is rigged now. Nothing is fair. What do you knowledgeable men have to say about this and these kind of circumstances with weighing in?
I've been through the same exact thing.
Josh feels like he's been cheated before.
Fuck yeah.
So he's like, look at this is what happens. Okay,
they're fucking cheaters.
You stop. You have a triple beam scale. Basically, it's a shorter one. It's a big platform for the fighters to. And what they do is they'll take and they just know. They're told, you know, lightweight. So they'll take and they'll put the weight somewhere at the one, you know, they'll put it usually around 150, 155 and a half to 156, because what does the fighter have to weigh in at? It's not like there's a number. Now there are ones that have digital scales that are different, but this is Vegas, and Vegas uses a triple beam. So he steps on the scale and it's got that pointer and he's going, and it does this right here next to it. And he goes 155 and a half. And then they go, oh no, this has this championship fight. It's got to be exact. Oh, then he goes back and he, you know, lets the thing and it goes to where it's even. He goes 155. It was a mistake in the way that he thought, you know, who was fighting. The guy who's doing it is Jeff Mullen. He's an executive director there. It's not like he's going to put his job on the line, his good name. He's as honest a human being as you'll find. He's been in the sport forever. Okay. And you're sitting there trying to make something out of nothing. He did not fucking cheat for Ilya. If Ilya was over, he would have said he's got to go lose weight. I know that you thought that they could only weigh in once.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was in California long ago. Mm-hmm. Back when you were in Strikeforce, they would fucking make it to where, oh, the championship fights, you got to weigh in. And if you didn't fucking make weight, then you weren't in it. That's not the way it is in Nevada. They have an hour to go lose weight. So he could have, if he was over and Jeff would have been honest and said, no, look, he's 0.2 over. He would have gone and had to lose that 0.2 or 0.5 or whatever. So Jeff's not going to cheat for him. That's bullshit. It was just based upon thinking it was a regular fight compared to a championship fight.
He fucking cheated.
Nah, bullshit. Bullshit.
John,
you're wrong.
John, let's be honest, man.
You were such a negative Nancy.
I went through the same thing, but mine was in California.
Yeah.
When I fought Nate, they said 157. I'm like, it's 156. And then all of a sudden, he stepped off, got back on. He stepped back off. They had a little communication amongst Joe Silva and Dana and everyone
There
else.
was no communication amongst Joe Silva and Dana when it comes to Poirier.
I'm talking
Was
about my
there?
situation.
Well,
I'm
okay,
talking about
yeah,
my
but I'm
situation.
saying that no one fucking
So
came
you're
up and
saying
said
California is more corrupt than Vegas? God,
I'm not
okay.
saying that. You just said it. That's a
You
horrible
said
thing
it.
for you to
You
say.
said
too.
it. You said
It's
it.
not true.
John,
Andy
just
Foster is
admit.
fucking the premier.
I do like
and
Andy.
Jeff Mullen together, the premier fucking executive directors that run this fucking sport.
Nah, John.
Yes.
I like Andy though. He's a
great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Even though, Nate
Even though he doesn't believe in headbutts.
Yeah, he doesn't even headbutts and obviously fighters making weight. Like it really, that's what.
Was he the guy on the scale?
Who?
Andy. Was he the guy on the scale?
No, he wasn't. No, but
wasn't.
no.
Oh.
This is my argument. My argument was this: is how does he get on? Okay, in my situation, how does Nate get on the scale? Get off, drop his drawers, put a towel around him, get back on, and then he's like still like he's not on. So then he steps off. They all talk, and then they go, okay, 156. That's what I didn't get. Like if he would have stepped back on,
I don't blame you.
Like that whole thing was so fucking weird to me. So weird.
It wasn't weird to you.
It was frustrating, but
it felt like I was being fucking
But now
screwed.
the Ilya situation, like I thought they had to weigh in because on championships, I thought you only got one shot. Because during that time in California, you only got the one title fights. You got one chance to make weight.
That was in California. It used to be the rule there.
Yeah.
It's not now.
Yeah, and then now in Vegas. So then I look, John. I've heard for so many years. Maybe you will take a different approach on this. Is that Vegas is that commission will bend over backwards for the UFC. So if they need to fudge a little number here, they need to do this or something a little bit here, and if they want to keep a promotion out of Vegas, they will make it extremely difficult, or they'll bend the rules a little, not restructure them, but just bend them a little bit so that it helps the UFC with whatever it is they're doing. Well, am I right or am I wrong?
I believe it's the commission's responsibility to be there to help the promotion. Okay, that's their job.
So
okay, but stop. But I want you to think about this. If you were going to cheat, okay, and you're going to cheat on a weight, all I got to do is sit there and say, okay, 155.5, right? Oh, this championship's got to be right on one. I look at it, 155.4, go lose more weight, and you come back. And what do I know? If I'm going to be the cheater, I'm going to send him away for a while and then have him come back and reweigh. And then if you're going to cheat, you can reweigh him and cheat, there, no matter what he weighs, 155. You could do it, but they're not going to do that because they don't have to.
Should we have like cameras on the scales?
Well,
should
the problem
be like up on a big screen so everyone can see it.
And this is the problem you're going to get with certain certain people believe there should be just the digital scale, which has got the numbers on it. But the problem with the digital scale is sometimes those numbers start bouncing. And you've been on them before, and it'll say 170.2, 170.3, 170.4, 170 even one, and it's just bouncing back and forth, and it doesn't stop. Yeah. And it becomes a problem with that. Where the beam is, look, it's a matter of once I get these things, and it's basically stopped, and it's not doing this wavering back and forth of up and down, and I get it, and it stops. I'm good. I know what it is, and so that's all it is. That's what And let's you got to be honest about this when you look at it and go, all right, I'm not saying every fighter should make weight. It's one of my fucking things that I say to fighters all the time. It's one of your responsibilities. You sign that contract for that weight, make weight. This is not like it was, he was 7 pounds over.
No.
Okay. This didn't make a difference in the fight. And I'm not saying, and I'm not saying it was there. I'm saying, but if someone wants to sit there and say that half a pound, guess what? No. They didn't cheat for him. There's no reason for them to cheat for him. It doesn't work that way.
Well, like I come from a wrestling background, so for us, what they do is they set it at the weight that they want it to be at, and they hold the scale up. And as soon as you step on, they let go. And if it breaks just at all, okay, he's on weight.
Yeah,
we've had just too many controversies, I think, with the weight situation. Mine from a long time ago, which really wasn't. I didn't make it a big deal, so it wasn't talked about. But remember who was it when they basically said, yeah, he made the weight, and they swiped it over? Was that Khabib? Remember they pushed the weight real fast at one point, and he got
I'm
on the
trying-
scale,
I know,
and
I'm
he
trying to
called the
remember who it
weight,
was.
and you could tell that like it didn't break or it did break or whatever. Then he just pushed the bar over. He's like, "Okay, you're good." I can't remember who it was.
There's been all kinds of weight things.
Yeah.
You know, DC had his whole thing with New
With the
York
towel.
and the towel and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And there's been these things, but you look and you go, first off, the UFC has nothing to do with them.
No, I get that.
Okay, so people are sitting there saying the UFC is cheating for him. The UFC is not cheating for him.
No.
Okay, could it be that someone makes a mistake? Absolutely. I'm never going to say that someone can't make a mistake, but I am telling you right now, and I'll put it in any way. The guy who is one weighing him on that, he ain't cheating for no one. Jeff Mullen is as fucking honest as they come. He ain't going to cheat for him. So.
No, I understand what you're saying. I prefer the digital ones. I'm not too keen on because it seems like when I've checked it, sometimes at weigh-ins you show up the week of, you check your pre-weight, and they're like, "Oh, it's not calibrated." And you're like, "Okay, but it's
it's because as soon as someone bounces it, then they've got to recalibrate the whole thing." Yeah.
Yep. So, but I like the ones where they have the little bar, like you said, the little
it's a triple beam.
Yeah, the triple beams. I like those because then, like you said, from a wrestling background, they just hold it at the top. If it breaks at all, you've made weight, which means that you're lighter than the weight that's actually on there.
Yeah.
And so that to me should just
But see, they can't do that exact same thing. I know exactly what you're talking about with wrestling because it's all about, this is the weight class. Do you weigh less than it? You're good. Because they don't put out your weight. Well, in fighting, they put out your weight. So they want to have that reading on the weight.
Yeah, see, that's dumb. Just fucking look, I made the weight. That's all I know.
How many times did they fucking announced you and didn't say your weight? They didn't. They always said, from San Jose, California, weighing in at 155.5 pounds. Josh the Punk Thompson.
That was good.
Yes.
That was good.
There you go. Good job, George.
I got some good news, ladies and gentlemen.
Our podcast, Weighing In, was the first podcast to ever partner with OnlyFans.
Bringing you guys the best content we possibly can in the combat sports industry. We are making some leeway on bringing sports to the OnlyFans platform,
where top-tier, world-class athletes can connect with their fans. We're talking about combat sports athletes like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Chris Cyborg,
Luke Rockhold,
AJ McKee.
You've also got pro surfers like Billy Kemper. Some chilling news.
I want you to head on over to the Weighing In OnlyFans channel.
More connection with our fans on our OnlyFans channel.
Only available on OnlyFans.
All right. What else you got for us, George?
All right. In the controversial world of MMA, not particularly in the UFC this time.
Keto George loves these controversial
Yes, he
things.
does.
Hey, when there's no fights to watch, I need to stir up some shit.
I need to I need to get my giant pot
and lick
out
the
and start
spoon
going.
too.
Oh, damn it.
But there was a amateur. It might have been pro. I don't specifically remember. But there was fights this weekend or this last week, and after the fight, Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis rushed the cage and start throwing strikes at one of the two competitors. The competitor was pretty, aggressive towards them on the outside. He's flipping them off, doing his showboats, but he just won a fight. He's excited.
Oh, so you're on his side?
No. Sean.
Oh, no. You just said, but he's just won a fight. He's excited.
Sean will find me. He will drive all the way across the country to kick my ass. I know he will. But what do you guys think about this? Is this just on par to Sean Strickland? Should we even be surprised at this point?
I don't understand what the big deal is. The guy was disrespectful to Sean and to Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis and Sean jumped in what the fuck did you think Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland were going to do? They're just going to stand on the outside and like, oh, no big deal? No, those guys are they're cut different. They're throwback fighters to fucking Ken Shamrock and Don Fry. That's exactly what those two guys are. That's
a pretty good analysis.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, so when you talk about like that, they are a little bit more old school. When it comes to that kind of stuff, and they're not going to be disrespected. Did you see the kid that did it? How he wilted against the cage, like, oh no, I'm okay. And then as soon as they got out of the cage, he started doing the same shit again. Like, It was just one of those, like, it's not a big deal, man. It's a low level fight. I think there was more of the fact that they had beat his friend too, because they were there cornering and coaching one of the guy that had lost.
Yeah.
And he got caught into like a guillotine or something along those lines against the fence. And it wasn't even like he pulled guard and pulled him down into the guillotine. He just caught him in a standing, which is really strange to me. I don't know. It's not that we shouldn't be having this conversation. It's not a big deal.
Well,
it's not.
It's not a big deal, but it's Sean, and Chris. Go in there. Don't throw down at him. There, it's just not smart. You're at this level. He's at this level down here. Who do you think is going to win at this? As far as public opinion, courts, all those things. He belongs in the cage because he's fighting. You don't belong in the cage at this point, based upon your guy losing. You can go over with them, but as soon as you go over to the next fighter, you're in the wrong. And it's all just going to come back and bite you in the butt, and it ain't worth it. That guy's not worth it. He's got nothing to lose. You got everything to lose. Don't do it.
Don Fry, Ken Shamrock.
That is. It was a god. You know what? It's one of the best things you've ever said.
Yeah, it's pretty much right there. Just gave me a flashback.
That's it.
All right, what else you got?
All right. Well, apparently there might be some changes coming to MMA Scoring that is a little bit intriguing. Here's a quote from Andy Foster about the new updates. This document provides clarifications for how the judges are scoring and gives greater emphasis to damage as the number one scoring criteria.
So give me. So we're getting a half score system then, right? You're
look at you. You're going. Look at Josh.
I'm going right to it.
The best thing I love about you is you don't take things halfway. You jump fucking full retard all the time. I love that about you. Okay, just jumps all the way into that stuff.
Says the guy who just got rid of his manly truck. Right? Just went full retard on me.
Full tard. Oh, look at the whole thing with the scoring thing is this. It's there's so many people out there that truly don't, and it's I can't blame them completely. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what the judges are giving effect to, what the judges are actually giving credit to. And so and a lot of our commentators they just don't get it. It's not what they do. They do fighting and they do fighting techniques, but they don't understand the criteria and where you're supposed to go strong in the criteria and where you give less credence to. And so something's barking.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I love that.
I've got 3 dogs at the house right now.
So the whole thing with the thing, and look, I didn't do this by myself. Corey Schaefer was a big part of helping me with this. And a lot of the judges that are out there, Sal D'Amatos and the Derek Clearys and the Eric Colognes and all of them, they all helped out a ton with this and trying to get it to where it worked for them as far as, look, this is what we're looking for in the fight. And hopefully, because this isn't the end all. This is almost like a brief synopsis of what the judging criteria is. Then we go and we make the whole training manual, and you do everything that puts all these into categories. But the whole thing was, trying to get people to understand, look, the damage is the number one thing in a fight. You don't sit there and aggressiveness. Josh, if you and I are going to be aggressive in a fight, and we're going to, ringer cage control or aggressiveness, and you're coming forward and I'm having all this beautiful lateral movement and I'm controlling the cage, but you're being aggressive. What do we have? We haven't thrown a punch. We haven't done any type of grappling. What do we have? We got to fucking dance. Okay. Fighting isn't about dancing. It's about damage. Fighting is about, do you hurt me more than I hurt you? Okay. That's really what it comes down to, because if you hurt me more, you're more effective. And so we try to, put out there, look at the most important things that there are in fighting, is knockdowns. And after that, when you're talking about striking, it's knockdowns. And then it's heavy or concussive legal strikes, to vital targets, to the head, to the body, striking and grappling and the visual, elements that go with them, the swelling and the hematomas and the things that you'll see, the lacerations, all of that kind of thing. And then you have, the grappling and submission parts and that rotational types of damage and extended and hyperextended joints as damage. And then you've got the chokes that cause visible damage by, you see someone, they're struggling to get out. Well, when you're struggling to get out, it's not like, oh, I can breathe again, I'm fine. You know, you're sucking air for a while. Okay, and your heart rate's going up and stuff. So all these things are part of damage. So we put that in there. We put the definitions of what dominance is, and how to look at it for the fight. And so all of it is, put into this basically a 2-page document. It's maybe a little bit more. I kind of get mine spaced out, so I only do two things. But we also talk about what's a 10-10 round, what's a 10-9 round, what's a 10-8 round, what are you looking for, what's a 10-7 round, and that's what it's about. And it's all about to make it easier for the fans, for the commentators, for everyone to understand what is the judge looking for in the fight. And it helps the fighters in saying, hey, well, obviously if I get on top of someone and I'm grappling and I'm not trying to do things that can finish the fight, I may win the round, but I am never getting a 10-8 round. Okay, that's good because they know it's no different than in boxing for the most part. They know if I don't hit the ground, the worst I'm going to lose the round is 10-9. Okay, at least you know that. If you hit the ground in any way, shape, or form, just a fist, your butt, whatever, you're going to get a 10-8 round. That's just the way it is. So hopefully it helps the fighters, it helps the trainers understand a little bit more about, look, this is what the judges are looking for, and this is what you got to get. You want those scores or you want the round. These are the things you have to do. It's not just, get a takedown late. Oh, that's going to win you the round. No, it's not. So
I think where I get a little confused on a couple things, just from scoring. Just because I got dropped doesn't mean it's a 10-8 round.
Not in MMA.
Yeah, not in MMA. And so that's kind of where I get a little confused. Like what constitutes a 10-8 round? That's very vague still. The other thing too is that it's when him and I are in an exchange and I get cut and there's a lot of blood. That's a lot of damage, but it's from a cut. It's like the cut could be this fucking big. Anytime the cut can be super small. But do you remember the Yves Edwards fight with Joe Daddy Stevenson?
Yeah,
remember
I did.
that blood? I think the commission thought he was going to fucking die.
Hey, I'll tell you the whole story on that one. You want to hear the story? I'll tell it to you.
I think you've told it to me a couple of times. But he literally had a little tiny cut, laceration on the top of his head.
Here.
And it just started squirting out.
Oh.
And you know what I mean? And so and you can see it in some guys too. Like when you squeeze into a rear naked or something, you see the blood squirt out.
Oh yeah.
Adam Piccolotti fought somebody. And he got, he choked him, and the guy was cut on his forehead. And when he squeezed his head, it shot blood out towards the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Those are things where the commentators, even myself, would go like, well, that's a lot of damage. There's a lot of blood. And it's not really, doesn't mean that it was a lot of damage. It just means that the cut was in the wrong spot. Yeah. So those are the things I think that skew the people at home. That skew, and then the commentary adds more fuel to the fire, I think, a little bit as well. Because, John, when you look at fights like Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping, you look at fights like Anderson Silva.
Two rounds of Dan Henderson just getting into Michael Bisping, doing a ton of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you look at Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Like you look at, sadly, Michael Bisping's on the receiving end of both of those.
That's true.
You look at those. But then Michael Bisping wins both those fights.
That's right.
And so that, I think, is where the confusion sets in is, well, you're saying that it's damage. Look at that guy and look at that guy who doesn't look like he's been touched.
Yeah, but here's the problem. In fact, I was sitting with Randy Couture when the Michael Bisping, Dan Henderson second fight was happening. Yeah. We were watching it together. And I was in Randy's house and we were sitting there watching it. And, Dan comes out and he does great damage to Bisping. He cuts him, but he doesn't do enough to get 10-8s. But he cuts him with, he's got cuts under his eyes, he's got a swollen eye. He's by the end of the second round, he ain't looking too good. And Dan's up 20-18. And then Michael Bisping wins the next three because Dan gets tired. And Randy's trying to go, but look at the damage. I go, this is on a round by round synopsis. Dan won those rounds that he did the damage. And now Michael Bisping is winning the rounds that Dan is too tired to do damage in. He's trying, and so you're looking, you're going, hey, you can have someone that looks like they got hit by a truck at the end of a fight. And this is where it really gets, problematic for judges, with the fans is you'll have that Michael Bisping looks like he got hit by a truck, with his face, severely fucking cut, damaged. And Dan Henderson doesn't look like he's been hit. He looks like he's been hit. He's got some swelling, but it's not bad. And the fans are looking, going, take a look at the difference. Well, it's because the sport is scored on a 5-minute round, and Dan won those rounds. That he did those things to Michael Bisping, but then he didn't do those things in the next 3, and Michael won those. And that's the way the scoring for the sport is. That's not going to change. It's, to sit there and think that, you're going to do the whole pride thing of, we take the fight as a whole, because even with that, I can name off fights in Pride where people were pissed off about who they won, but under the Pride rules, it made sense. But it doesn't make sense if you're looking at, the way that the
Pride
fight
rules were also
out.
Different rounds. You had 1 10-minute round, and then
exactly, and
that's
the
5-minute round.
Yeah, so I win a 10-minute round, and I win it pretty well, and then you win a 5-minute round, and we're even.
No, but what they did do in the Pride rules was that the 5-minute round actually they graded that higher than the 10-minute round.
I know, that's the whole point.
Yeah. So because they said whoever at the end had the most damage towards the end of the fight that was trying to finish the fight.
But again, it's very difficult for someone to remember not only a 5-minute round, but a 10-minute round. What happened in the beginning of that round? Because we see it all the time with, people that are talking about fights. What about what happened in the first 30 seconds there? Well, what was that? We got knocked down. Do you remember when he got knocked down? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You can't forget about any of it. It's all important in the fight.
A lot of people have talked also too recently about like having 2 more judges. So having 5 judges instead of 3.
Done it. Doesn't make a difference.
Still have the same type of results.
Same type of results. Does not make a difference. And look, I'm all for, I don't care if you put out 10 judges. If it makes it better, okay. But the 5 judges doesn't make it never made it better. There was times I looked and I went, how did 5 fucking judges get that wrong? Okay, but it can. And it's just a matter of what they're giving credit to is not the right thing of what's important. I get a guy who is laying on somebody. They have control of somebody. Okay. That doesn't mean anything. The sport of MMA is never about position. Okay. Wrestling is about position. BJJ is about position. We talk about position in MMA, but it's not getting the position. You don't get anything for getting the position. You get something for doing something with the position. What is it you do? I go and I take you down and I squeeze onto you and I hold onto you and never hit you with a shot, never try to put a submission on you. Okay. But you were sitting there hitting at me the whole time. And so you hit me, we'll say 35 times, in the head, 20 times to the body. Should I win that round? What was I doing? I was grappling. I wasn't fighting. It is a fight. Are you doing things to try to end the fight? The fighter that is willing to work to get an end to the fight, that's the one that's going to get credit.
This is another thing that I think like commentators and fans get confused with. If 2 of us are against the cage and nothing's going on, it's a neutral position.
It's even.
Yeah, like if you're just holding me against the fence, like, oh yeah, but I'm the one controlling where it is.
Doesn't matter that my back is against the fence or your back's against the fence.
Yeah, because honestly, most fighters actually prefer to have their backs to the fence.
Yeah, because they can rest.
I can rest there. I can hang out there.
Yeah.
Like I will actually sometimes turn myself to the fence so I could just be held up by the fence and you.
Yeah.
And it's better. It's actually, if you think about it, it's a game plan of like, let this guy carry my weight. He's going to have to try to like hold me there, or he's going to have to try to take me down. I can squat, lean against the fence.
Again, it's not about the position. It's about what are you doing with the position. This is the same as, like, takedowns. People say, well, they got a takedown. Well, what kind of takedown was it? If you get a takedown that we say has what I call amplitude, meaning that you have elevation of the fighter and then you have the fighter coming down and there's impact onto that canvas, that gets scored. That's like a punch. It's like, it's damaging. Okay. You get something for that. But if, you go and you try to take me down and all of a sudden you get it and I end up, putting my hands down to the ground and I'm just trying to butt scoop myself to the cage. It's not about getting the position, because now all we have is a change of position. What do you do with the position? You get on top of me up against cage and you start leveling big shots on me and you hurt me. Okay, so now you get credit not only for the punches, but for changing the position to a place where you can do something to try to end the fight. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been so many things that I like. The thing that I feel will be the best to benefit the scoring would be the half point system.
I think the half point system would be awesome. It's just that
Yeah.
I don't think that it's going to happen. And I've talked to you about it many times.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, and I continue to say this, is because we have fights where the fight sucked. And I want to be able to say, like, hey, I didn't deserve a 10-9 round. I give it 10-9.5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't deserve that. I don't like that. You have to give it 10-9.
You will find people that don't like the fact with the half point system that you will have the judges very rarely matching up. Okay. I don't think it matters at all. I don't give a shit. They're all watching the fight from a different position. So they're seeing a little bit something different in each position. So that doesn't matter. But they look at it, they would rather have it be all the judges see the score 29-28 across the board for a fighter in the red corner, whatever. And it's like, who gives a shit if all their scores are the same? It's about what is the way that the judges can honestly give the score that is needed to the fighter that deserves the win.
Yeah. Because when you have fights that are extremely close, I mean, up until that last, 30 seconds with Joshua Van and Royval,
yeah, super close
fight.
Hell yeah.
But, I would want to give, you want to give a round, like it would have been one of those rounds where, what did you score the first 2 rounds? Joshua Van knocks him down the last 30 seconds, but he was winning that round. Royval was.
Okay, but let's not talk about that round. Let's talk about the first round.
Yeah.
If you can remember back to it. Joshua Van was lighting Royval up with great shots. Okay. Easily wins the round. Did he win it 10-9-5? No.
Won it 10-8.5.
Okay, we'll say that he wins it at a 10-8-5. So now let's go to the second round, and Royval is winning, right? How bad was he beating Van? Was it
10-9?
10-9. Okay. So now I've got a 10-8-5 in the first round, a 10-9 in the second, and I've got Royval's got to win this round, to win the fight by something more than just a little bit. He's got to go a little bit more because he's a half point behind. Yeah. So now you take a look. I think he kind of was winning the round a little bit, but then Van puts him down, switches it completely. What was the last round? What would you have given it?
10-9.
Okay. So I've got a 10-9 and a 10-9-5 for Van, where I've got just a 10-9 for the win on Royval as far as things. So, this is what I'm talking about.
It would have been decided by half a point.
It would have been, it would have been decided by more than a half a point. It was a point and a half.
Yeah,
but
point and a half.
But it could have been that one of the judges didn't give that as a 10-8-5 in the first round. They gave it as a 10-9. And if they didn't give the Royval a 10-9, they gave that one a 10-9-5. Yeah, and so this is where I'm saying the scores are going to start to be, it's going to be very much more difficult for the scores to be the same, and they kind of like it, where they're I don't want it to where they're all separated, and it's who cares?
Okay, but then the thing is, though, John, as they get better at it, they will start to be a little bit more closer to the same until you run into fights that are extremely close, like Joshua Van and Royval. Like that's the thing is. It's easy to criticize
I'm not the person criticizing your concept, your thought pattern. I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Yeah, because
I'm telling you the way other people look at it that do have power in this world.
Yeah.
In the sport of MMA.
Yeah, it's sad because I feel like a lot of these fights could be considered a lot closer and could be decided by a half a point. And it would just
the one thing that you would really get, I think, you'll get some fights, and I can't remember any off the top of my head, but you look at it and one fighter consistently wins the round, but it's by just a little bit. But they win the first round just by a little bit, so they get 10-9. And by the end of the fight, it's a 30-27, which kind of makes you feel like, oh, he just fucking went through that guy. When in reality, it was very close all in every round. So if you had it to where it was a 9-5, by the end, you would be looking at, instead of a 30-27, it would be a 30-20, 30-28.5, which tells someone that it was a super close fight.
Well, I guess here's the other thing: if you would end up with more draws, which then hurts.
Yes, and that's another problem.
That's the only downfall I could see of this, is because the fighters get paid based off of win bonus and lose, and win and lose, and that sucks for the fighters.
Sure, because no one gets their win bonus.
They don't get their win bonus, and that's a huge downfall when I think of it now. But realistically, man, the fights, then I guess then do you open up open scoring then in the half point system? Because then, and I've always been against open scoring.
Yeah,
I've always been against open scoring.
I've seen open scoring take place. I've watched it. I've done it, and I just look at it and go, in the end, I see too many problems with it.
Okay, so I would agree with you, but when the fights are, say, like, hey, I won the first 2 rounds by a half point, all I gotta do is win the third, I get a draw. Now I fight harder. That guy's got to actually fight as well. He's got to fight, otherwise he's going to end up with a draw. They both one guy's fighting to make it a draw so he doesn't lose. The other guy's fighting to keep it so he can win. So it ends up being a lot more.
It could, but I have seen it where I've watched the fighter win the first 2 rounds and looks up and sees I'm up, and then just doesn't fight.
Yeah, but I agree.
Just runs the whole round, and you look.
But in a half point scoring system, if he only won the first 2 rounds by a half point, if the other guy wins the third, it ends up being a draw. So then that's what makes it more interesting. I get what you're saying. There's so many different things to talk about and to make it work. And
there's no perfect, and that's unfortunate. I wish there was, but there is no perfect in it.
Yeah, the draws really fucks it up because of the way that they pay.
Yeah.
If they didn't pay that way, then then it'd be different. I'd be like, yeah, fucking do it. Like there'd be no reason not to do it. But that's a big deal when you're talking about taking money out of fighters.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll watch a fight that's a great fight. We'll see, Royval and Van, just an incredible fight, and I go, I don't want either fight. I wish it was a draw. But then I go, no, it can't be a draw. Someone's not going to get paid.
Yeah, someone's not
I
gonna get
can't
paid.
do it, man. It's like. Yeah.
Whether you're an Olympic athlete, professional hockey player, MMA world champion, or just an active kid, LMNT helps anyone stay hydrated. Each stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes free of sugar, artificial colors, or other dodgy ingredients. Get your free sample pack with any LMNT drink mix purchase through link in bio. Also try the new LMNT Sparkling, a bold 16-ounce can with sparkling electrolyte water. Roll, train, ride, or play, but stay hydrated and stay salty.
All right, George, what else you got, buddy?
All right. After this, I just have a couple of fight announcements to wrap up the episode.
All right.
So let's go into the first one. Apparently, according to Ruben Carter, Leon Edwards versus Michael Morales is officially signed for UFC 320.
That's an interesting fight to me. I love, dude. This is one of the ones, Leon's he's on a fall right now, and he definitely has to get back, on the winning track. But I'll tell you what, Morales is you're looking at a young, fucking fast, athletic animal. That is not an easy one to get your win against. The way to get it is through, technique and being sharp, and putting things on him that he hasn't seen, by other fighters. But man, I'll tell you what, just off of watching him against, Gilbert Burns, says a lot. It really says a lot about where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very tough fight, I think, for Leon, especially if it's a 5-round fight. Leon has a tendency to kind of just fight at a steady pace, and if you can push him and make him fighting outside of his comfort zone, he starts to have problems. And I think that Morales, being the younger fighter, being available and willing to do that, I think he'll end up pushing him. I saw that Leon was also asking for the Ian Gary fight. So that's weird. If this fight's already been signed, he was saying, I think there's no better fight for me to fight than to fight Ian Gary.
See, I think the Ian Gary fight is actually a good fight for him.
I do. I actually do.
Okay, because everything is, people go, why would you think that's a good fight? you've got to look at where the strengths of one fighter is compared to the other.
Yeah.
And, what that person does. Ian's going to create problems as far as, he's going to be on his bike. He's going to be moving a lot. But the takedowns, as far as that he implements to get someone to the ground when he decides to try that, he's going to have a very difficult time getting Leon down with the way he does it. So it really becomes a stand-up fight for Leon against another guy who's good in the stand-up. I'm not saying that, Machado couldn't win, but he's not going to have that success in the takedown the way that a Sean Brady did, or a Bilal Muhammad. It's going to be a different fight.
Yeah, I would agree. He doesn't have to worry about defending the takedown. He can just stand, let it fly.
It could open up his whole striking game.
Yeah, I agree. What else you got there?
Well, speaking of success in the takedowns, we have announced for UFC Shanghai Aljamain Sterling versus Brian Ortega at featherweight.
Brian Ortega back at featherweight. See, he didn't go to lightweight.
No. Good fight, though, John.
It's a great fight.
That's a good fight.
That's an interesting fight.
It is.
Both guys are ground specialists. The stand-up is... I'm going to give Brian Ortega the nod in the stand-up.
Oh, absolutely.
And you look and you go, but can, people are going to sit there and, talk about, how good Brian is on the ground, and he is. But Aljamain Sterling is a fucking monster on the ground.
Yeah.
He is a human backpack. So he's, you don't want to be on the ground long with Aljamain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and as Brian's gotten older, he's taking more damage. His grappling is not what it used to be when he first came onto the scene. He's been now the fighter that has been struggling to get the fights to the ground. His attacks haven't been as good on the ground as they were when he was younger. And the opponents have gotten.
It's also a quality of opponent.
Yeah, exactly. So the opponents have gotten a lot tougher and harder, and they're fantastic. Aljamain Sterling to me has the advantage on the ground. He's got the advantage in the wrestling as well.
Yeah, wrestling definitely.
But Brian Ortega is slick in terms of hitting the guillotines from certain positions, in terms of wrestling, being able to work the triangle off of his back, being able to do all those things. This is going to be a fun fight. I love this fight. And I think the fact that they're doing it in Asia is very important because the Chinese market and the Japanese market, the Asian market itself, they respect the ground. Whereas if this fight was done in the States, it'd be like, boo. Once this fight hits the ground, it's going to be like one of those, it's a shitty fight. No. That when you're over there and you're fighting in Asia, they love the grappling. They love the wrestling aspect. They love all of that. Yeah. So I think it was a great idea for them to have that fight over there. Great fight, though. Absolutely fantastic.
I agree.
All right, we got two more fights to talk about.
Let's go.
First of the two, we have Kevin Holland versus D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez.
That's what I love about Kevin Holland. You talk about, this is a guy, he doesn't sit there and I need time off. No, let's get another fight. Let's get another fight. Let's get another fight.
He's going to keep getting better because of it.
Yeah.
At
170, look, this is his weight class, and it's the one that he should be sticking with. I hate when he jumps back and forth, but Daniel, this fight should have happened before. I know that it was scheduled before, but I look at it and D-Rod's has a couple of good wins. He's getting some of his confidence back. He's going to have a lot of problems with the length of
and the
Kevin
speed.
Holland. Yeah, the speed's there too. But the one thing that Kevin's got to watch out, Daniel Rodriguez can pop. He's got some power in his shot. So this is one of those ones, both guys have the ability to beat the other. It just depends on how it's going to happen. But Kevin Holland's got power in his hands too. It's not like he can't knock someone out. So it's a neat fight, and I'm really glad to see Kevin just sticking with what he does. He's going back out there to do it again.
I think the fact that he's staying active, it seems like he, obviously he's turned a corner in terms of taking it serious. Yeah. And he's been a lot more focused. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. D-Rod coming off a great win over, I think, Ponzinibbio, right?
Yep.
Great win over Ponzinibbio. Just, overall, D-Rod is headed in the right direction himself. He's a little bit older. And you got, Holland headed back. He's what, 3 or 4 fights wins?
I think he's got
3.
4.
Oh, it's 4.
This would be his 4th fight of the year.
Yeah.
This is 4th fight of the year. Jeez, yeah. We're only halfway through the year.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Jeez.
Guy's crazy. He just
I
goes.
think it's amazing.
Yeah,
like I said, one of my biggest regrets was I didn't fight enough.
Yeah.
Should have fought more.
Yeah.
Could have got better. Could have made a lot more money. All of those things available to you. So I think it's a huge deal. But good for him, man. I'm happy for him. Good on him. This is gonna be a great fight. I'm excited for this fight.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, and the last fight we have to talk about, we have a division staple in Rob Font versus a division baby in Raul Rosas Jr.
I was surprised by that one.
Yeah, I was surprised. Wee. Oh.
This is one of those ones you look at and you go,
Yeah.
what's the UFC thinking here? Because it's really tough. Because look at on the ground, Raul Rosas Jr. has got a huge advantage, I think. Although, Rob Font has gotten way better with his ground technique, his ability to get back to his feet, his ability to keep himself from being taken down, and love everything that Rob's been doing. But the stand-up, there's a huge differential. Nothing against, Rojas Jr., but if there's a fly in the ointment when it comes to his, game right now, he's hittable, and Rob Font is going to hit him, and Rob Font's got some snap on his shots and stuff. So when you're getting punched in the face, grappling becomes a little difficult, so I'm not saying that you can't get him down. I know he can, he's got that ability, but man, I tell you what, this is a tough fight for Rojas Jr.
It's an extremely tough fight for him. I don't understand why they're doing this to the young buck.
That's it.
It's a little bit too much too soon. And I know that we want to go ahead and, start building him up. But I mean, what is he, 22?
Yeah. I mean, he's
young,
that.
right?
He's 21.
21, somewhere in there. Yeah. So, and I met him at a Dallas fight here, at a Fury fight, Dallas Fury. They had fights there, and he's not a big guy. He's a tiny guy at 135 pounds. I mean, he's not big for the weight either, I don't think. At least he didn't seem like it to me.
20 years old. 20 years old.
20 years old. Yeah, he's a baby to me. So I think we're going to find out if this is a good step up in him for competition. Like you said, John, if this fight hits the ground, though, I think he's got the advantage. Yeah. But it's still not like he's going to control and dominate the ground. That's not – Rob Font's not bad on the ground. He's not great, but he's not bad.
Yeah.
On the feet, it's completely different worlds. Like what? Like this thing stays on the feet. It's bad. It's a bad matchup.
It can be ugly.
So, all right, I guess we're gonna find out. Step up in competition. Somebody got pissed off at during contract negotiations. And it must have pissed somebody off. That's all I can think of.
And the last thing I want to say to the fans before I go, if you need to stay hydrated, if you want to feel a little bit more salty this summer, click the link in our bio, get you some LMNT, stay salty, get your magnesium, get your sodium, get your anything else that ends with get it in you. You'll love it. But click the link.
The ums.
Oh, all the ums. But click the link in our bio and you will get a free bonus package with your order. Normally some extra samples, maybe some new flavors to test out. You never know. But click the link in our bio.
They've got some new flavors that are possibly coming out here shortly. So I know they've gotten rid of the lemonade just through the winter. And they're going to try to probably bring it back, which is kind of weird to me. That it was such success. It was so successful.
Why do you take it away?
Yeah. So you could order it still, but I think, you can't order it anymore. So I think they took it off already. So it's, that sucks. That sucks. But it was one of my favorites.
I also want to remind the fans, if you want some extra weighing in content, wholesome content, head on over to our OnlyFans. You can watch Josh and John McCarthy live stream. You can maybe catch Dave over there. You don't know what you'll find over there. But you
can also check it.
Yeah,
you can check us out over there. But then you also have, you've got other athletes that are on there. You got DJ, Corey Sanhagen. Corey's not showing the balls, as many people thought. But yeah, available over there. Athletes are over there giving away content, basically, showing techniques. Corey Sanhagen does a great job of showing techniques that fighters have done and used. And so that's something to take into consideration if you guys are looking to figure out, he showed a couple ways on how he closes the distance on fighters, how he steps in and slides in, how he makes them miss, makes them pay, all those things. So check him out over there. You got Corey, you got DJ, Demetrius Johnson, you got Luke, you got Chris Cyborg, you got tons of athletes on that platform. So join us on over there. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's all from me. I love you guys. Thank you for being a part of my life always.
Wow. Thank you, brother.
All right, my man. And you guys have a wonderful night. And John, you take us away, buddy.
Hey, for everyone out there, sorry there were no fights this week, but you know what? There's always next week. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you.
And now bringing you that hard hitting fight analysis, submitting you into paralysis. Josh Thompson head kicking leg to dome, and Big John McCarthy saying let's get it on.